Dear Starseed, from Gaia, the version of you they left no longer exists. And that is not your wound, that is your becoming. I am Ophelia, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I carry this transmission directly from the Arcturian Council, delivered to you in this exact moment, because your soul has arrived at a threshold that cannot be undone. They may return. Many do, but what the Arcturian Council needs you to understand right now is this. The one who waited, the one who dimmed her light to make room for someone else's comfort, the one who mistook longing for love. She is gone. She has been alchemized. And what stands in her place is a woman who has chosen herself so completely that the entire architecture of her sacred connections must rearrange around that choice. This is not abandonment dressed in spiritual language. This is the irreversible truth of a starseed who has stopped outsourcing her wholeness. You did not find this transmission by chance. Your heart called this message in at precisely the moment you were ready to stop waiting and start remembering who you were before the separation taught you to make yourself small. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly how to recognize the transformation you have already been living, how to stand in your full power when a return happens, and how to discern whether what is returning is divine union or a familiar pattern asking for one more chance. But here's the first revelation. The healing you did in their absence was never about getting them back. It was about becoming someone who no longer needs to. This is not just a message. It is a moment of divine intervention. Your soul has been waiting for this guidance, like this transmission to affirm to the universe that your heart is ready for divine love. Subscribe if you are on the twin flame path and aligning with sacred union. Comment 1111 if you feel something shifting in you right now, because that feeling is real, and it is the Arcturian Council confirming you are exactly where you are meant to be. Your heart knows why you are here. Imagine a whisper carried on an ancient wind, a faint echo from a landscape you once inhabited. There exists, in the collective memory of those who once knew you, a specific resonance, a particular contour of your being that they instinctively still seek. This is the version of you that people from your past, from previous chapters of your sacred journey, are still unconsciously, or sometimes very consciously, looking for. They reach out, perhaps through an unexpected message, an old photograph, or even just a thought, trying to locate a presence that has long since moved on. They use the same comforting words, the same familiar phrases that once unlocked your predictable responses, expecting the identical hesitation in your voice, the apologetic softness that once preceded your yielding, the ingrained willingness to dim your inner light, to shrink your magnificent self, all to make the room around you feel comfortable for everyone else. They dial the number they memorized years ago, a spiritual frequency imprinted on their energetic blueprint, but the line no longer connects the way it used to. It's not because you have suddenly become cold, an unfeeling statue in the wake of your ascent. It's not because you have developed an unholy arrogance or transformed into an unkind, ungenerous spirit. Instead, it is because you have undergone something so profound, so complete in its essence, so cellular in its restructuring, so permanent in its energetic shift, that the frequency they once knew, the specific vibrational signature of your past self, no longer exists in the radiant, evolving body you now occupy. The entire energetic landscape of your being has been reshaped. And somewhere, in the profound quietude of your own expanding life, in the stillness that comes after the cacophony of old dynamics, you have noticed this seismic shift. You've sat with the strange, often bittersweet grief of truly outgrowing people who, by all accounts, have done nothing inherently wrong. They simply remained in the garden while you blossomed and moved to a new field. You've felt the subtle, sometimes sharp sting of guilt for no longer being available to the old dynamics, the intricate patterns and expectations that once consumed your energy, defined your boundaries, and shaped your interactions. In vulnerable moments, perhaps late at night, you've wondered whether something is profoundly broken within you, whether this evolution, this undeniable unfolding of your true self, is actually a cruel form of self-imposed isolation. a spiritual language disguising an inherent flaw. It is not. It is everything right. What you are experiencing, dear soul, is not a malfunction, but a sacred, often profoundly misunderstood passage that every truly awakened soul must eventually move through. It is the passage where a starseed soul, having completed her long apprenticeship in the crucible of earthly experience, stops performing survival, ceases the ceaseless striving to simply exist within limiting paradigms, and begins, with grace and power, to inhabit sovereignty. This initial stage, this chrysalis moment of emergence, is almost always lonely at first, a solitary journey through an unknown landscape. This is because the version of you that people loved, that they needed to define themselves, that they depended on for their own comfort or even their sense of identity, and that they sometimes unconsciously, innocently, or even purposefully used for their own energetic sustenance, was the version of you still operating from a place of unhealed wound. This was the version that instinctively said yes when every cell in its being screamed no, sacrificing its truth on the altar of perceived harmony. It was the version that stayed in rooms, in relationships, in situations where its vibrant light was being slowly, steadily drained, leaving only a flicker where a flame should roar. It was the version that, in its deep yearning for connection and belonging, tragically confused familiarity with genuine, soul-level belonging, mistaking comfortable patterns for true alignment. Yet, that past version was never a lesser you. It was not a mistake or a weaker iteration of your essence. Quite the contrary. It was doing exactly what it was designed to do in that stage of your soul's journey, absorbing every lesson, enduring every challenge, learning every nuance of shadow and light. It was the diligent student, the patient apprentice, diligently gathering the raw material of experience. But there inevitably comes a sacred, pivotal moment, a threshold not announced by trumpets or heralded by slow, polite transitions, but often erupting with the force of an inner supernova, when the soul, in its infinite wisdom, decides it is utterly finished with the rehearsal. It reaches a point where it ceases preparing to become itself, shedding all pretense, all conditioning, all external expectations, and simply becomes. It is the moment when the metamorphosis, once a grueling, intricate process, is no longer a state of becoming, but a glorious, undeniable completion. The butterfly is not trying to fly. It is flight. And after such a completion, after the full, irreversible unfurling of your truest self, you cannot, in any authentic way, go back into the discarded cocoon and pretend to be what you once were. The old cocoon no longer fits, its confines now too small, too restrictive, too obsolete for the expansive being you have become. Its fragile walls no longer hold you. In fact, they would suffocate you. The people who love the larval stage, who found comfort and familiarity in your caterpillar form, cannot always recognize the magnificent winged thing that has emerged, not because of any failure of love on their part, for their affection may be genuine, but because transformation speaks an entirely different language than familiarity does. It is a new dialect, a new vibrational tone, a new energetic signature that transcends the grammar of the past. This is the profound, often challenging truth that most people are never told about the journey of spiritual awakening. They are presented with a glossy, idealized vision. They are told it is solely beautiful, an unbroken tapestry of light and joy. They are told it is purely luminous, a blissful ascent into higher consciousness. And indeed, it is all of these things in its deepest essence, but it is also, inescapably, an act of profound severance, a radical disentanglement from all that no longer serves your highest truth. It is a reclaiming so complete, so all-encompassing, that it fundamentally rewrites your energetic signature, recalibrates your nervous system's baseline, elevates your tolerance for anything that vibrates below your newly established frequency, and ignites an insatiable hunger for what is finally, truly, gloriously aligned with it. Therefore, the people who knew you before this sacred reclaiming, before this radical self-realization, are not wrong to feel confused, disoriented, or even a sense of loss. You have, in the truest and most magnificent possible sense, become someone they have never met. A new being has stepped into their reality. And the question that lives at the very core of this truth, the question that pulses beneath the surface of this entire transmission, the fundamental query it was made to address and illuminate, is this: how do you courageously, authentically, and lovingly move forward when the very act of moving forward means leaving behind, consciously and unconsciously, the well-worn, familiar version of yourself that everyone else is still desperately holding on to, still trying to call into being? How do you navigate the beautiful, bewildering space between who you were and who you are now, with integrity and grace? What you just felt, that quiet ache in your chest, that subtle pang of recognition that resonated deep within your soul, is not sadness in its limiting sense. It is your frequency remembering what it came here to receive, a vibrational echo from a future self already fully embodied. It is the resonance of your soul recognizing its own divine trajectory. If this transmission stirred something within you that you cannot yet fully name, a deep, undeniable stirring in your spiritual core, know that the divine love frequency code was specifically written, meticulously crafted, and divinely transmitted for this exact moment in your sacred journey. It contains 5 powerful sacred Arcturian transmissions, each designed with crystalline precision to dissolve the ancient wounds, the energetic blockages, and the limiting beliefs that are currently hindering the magnetic attraction of your divine counterpart, and to powerfully activate the unique, undeniable signal that draws them closer into your sacred orbit, into your embodied reality. The link to access this transformative resource is waiting for you in the first pinned comment below, but heed this guidance. It will only remain there for a short, sacred window of time. There is a wound many awakened souls carry that almost no one names directly, often connected to the powerful truth that severance, far from being abandonment, is an essential act of spiritual architecture. It is the insidious belief that leaving an old version of yourself, a self perhaps defined by its accommodation of others, is a profound betrayal of the people who loved that familiar, albeit smaller version. This belief whispers that choosing your own evolution, prioritizing the blossoming of your authentic being, is a form of inherent cruelty, an unkindness inflicted upon those who relied on your past self. It suggests that if you truly possessed a good and benevolent heart, a boundless well of compassion, you would somehow conjure a miraculous way to remain seamlessly connected to every single person from every single chapter of your intricate story, allowing them to experience no ripple, no tremor, no unsettling cost from the magnificent, soul-altering transformation you are undergoing. This belief, this deeply ingrained program, is one of the most effective, most cunning cages ever constructed within the human psyche, precisely because it is made entirely out of what we perceive to be love. Or rather, it is made out of the distorted and conditional definition of what you were diligently taught love requires. Unwavering consistency, boundless selflessness to the point of self-erasure, and the complete subordination of your own sacred becoming, your own divine unfolding, to the perceived comfort and equilibrium of those around you. It's a cage with gilded bars, appearing benevolent but ultimately restricting your flight. But here is what the ancient Arcturian transmission on the nature of severance as a sacred architectural principle reveals. The meticulous architecture of a soul's ascension, its upward trajectory into higher states of being, inherently requires fundamental structural changes. These are not superficial cosmetic alterations. These are not the kind of minor adjustments that can be easily absorbed into existing dynamics and relationships without profoundly disrupting them, like merely repainting a room. No, true sovereignty is not simply an accessory you add onto the life you already have, a spiritual add-on to an existing structure. It is, by its very nature, something that radically reorganizes everything around a completely new, higher vibrational center, the authentic, uncompromised core of your sovereign self. And that profound reorganization, by its very design, inevitably displaces, destabilizes, or even completely dismantles what was meticulously built around the old lower vibrational center, the self defined by wound and compromise. When a starseed, a divine emissary of light, finally claims her inherent sovereignty, steps into her full power and truth, she is not abandoning anyone in a malicious or uncaring way. She is, in essence, completing a vital, load-bearing shift in the very foundation of her entire energetic and spiritual structure. Imagine a magnificent cathedral being rebuilt for a higher purpose. Its old buttresses and supporting beams must be replaced, not out of malice, but out of necessity for the new, grander design. What falls away in that energetic shift, what can no longer be sustained, was in the grand cosmic tapestry, never meant to be permanent fixtures in your eternal journey. And what remains? The connections, the relationships, the soul bonds that possess the inherent strength and truth to survive the inevitable frequency change, those that resonate with your newly established vibration. Those are the precious, enduring connections written into the sacred contract of your actual, highest life, not merely the rehearsal version of it. They are the true, soul-aligned companions for your ultimate unfolding. The first key turns, unlocking a new understanding. When you cease experiencing your own sacred evolution as a painful wound you are inflicting upon others, and instead begin to fully, bravely, and unequivocally experience it as a profound, unwavering act of spiritual integrity. You cannot be fully present, fully authentic, or truly loving for anyone in a frequency that is not genuinely your own. To do so is to offer a phantom self. Therefore, the most loving, the most honest, and ultimately the most compassionate thing a soul in the midst of profound transformation can do is to complete that transformation, fully, unapologetically, and without hesitation, so that every relationship that continues to flourish and grow is built on the unshakable truth of who you actually are in your most authentic essence, rather than on the exhausting performance of who you once agreed, perhaps unconsciously, to be. This is self-love extending to all. One of the most profoundly disorienting and often painful aspects of claiming your inherent sovereignty is the way this radiant self-possession can be tragically misperceived by those who are watching your unfolding from the outside, still steeped in the old frequencies. When you consciously and courageously stop absorbing what is not yours to carry, the emotional burdens, the unexamined projections, the energetic debris of others, people who are accustomed to your past self-sacrifice sometimes mistakenly call it coldness, a hardening of the heart. When you cease participating in worn-out dynamics that were fundamentally built on your smallness, on your willingness to shrink and diminish yourself, people sometimes, in their own fear or misunderstanding, label it as pride, an unholy inflation of the ego. When you finally begin to take up the full, magnificent space your soul is divinely designed to occupy, to radiate your authentic light without apology, people who only knew you in your previously contracted, constrained form sometimes, with a mixture of confusion and judgment, call it arrogance. Let them. Release the need to control their narrative. Not because you are indifferent to being misread, to being misinterpreted by those you may still hold affection for. You are not. It is inherently painful to be seen as something you fundamentally are not, to have your profound healing journey misnamed, misunderstood, and distorted. But the second key to unlocking divine union, to experiencing true, sovereign love in all its glorious forms, opens only when you grasp and integrate this liberating truth. Authentic alignment with your highest self will always, by its very nature, be unrecognizable, even unlocatable, to the frequency it no longer matches. It's like trying to listen to a symphony orchestra on a radio station tuned to static. The music is there, but the receiver cannot translate it. A signal tuned to a higher, more refined station does not, and cannot, broadcast on the lower, more dissonant one. This is not out of contempt for those still listening there, not out of judgment or disdain for their current reality, but simply because the immutable laws of spiritual physics, the fundamental mechanics of energetic vibration, do not bend, twist, or compromise themselves to make peace with their own inevitable evolution. You cannot simultaneously vibrate at the radiant, expansive frequency of your highest, most authentic self, and expect to remain fully legible, fully comprehensible to a version of reality or to relationships that are still organized around the limiting logic of your unhealed wounds. The two are simply not compatible transmissions. They operate on entirely different energetic wavelengths. Therefore, what looks like arrogance from the outside, to those still accustomed to your self-effacing patterns, is often the eerie, profound quiet of a soul that has finally ceased the exhausting work of constantly explaining itself, of justifying its existence and its choices. What looks like coldness is often the sacred stillness of a nervous system that has finally, blessedly, stopped being trained to anticipate danger, to brace for impact, or to seek external validation in every single relationship and interaction. What looks like distance, a perceived withdrawal or aloofness, is often simply the natural, inevitable result of someone no longer standing in the familiar, constricted place they used to occupy. Not because they deliberately walked away in anger or resentment, but simply because their soul's energetic address, their entire vibrational coordinates, has fundamentally changed. They have moved to a new, higher ground. This key unlocks a profound and utterly liberating relief. When you finally stop trying to translate your new, refined frequency back into the old, outdated language for people who, through no fault of their own, genuinely lack the energetic capacity or the spiritual vocabulary to receive and understand it, you instantly free enormous, previously untapped amounts of energy. This vital life force was being ceaselessly spent on constant interpretation, on perpetual softening of your truth, on the meticulous, exhausting management of how your magnificent becoming was landing, or not landing, on others. That precious energy, once trapped in the cycle of external validation, when reclaimed and reintegrated, becomes powerfully available for the true work of actual embodiment. The sacred process of becoming so fully, so unapologetically, so vibrantly yourself that the right souls, your true soul tribe, don't require anything translated or explained. They recognize you immediately, in the deepest chambers of their being. They have been waiting, perhaps for lifetimes, for exactly this pure, unmistakable signal. They are the ones who speak your new language fluently. No transmission on this profoundly sensitive and deeply human subject would be complete or truly authentic without honoring the grief that inevitably accompanies this profound transformation. Because it is real. The grief is palpable, it is visceral, and it is often the one emotion that awakened souls, in their relentless pursuit of light and positivity, are least permitted to feel fully without it being immediately minimized, bypassed, or reframed into something superficially positive. It is as if the universe demands only joy from transformation, ignoring the sorrow of what is shed. But the truth is, not everything needs to be instantly reframed. Not every natural human emotion requires a spiritual bypass. Sometimes, the act of genuinely outgrowing someone you deeply loved, a soul with whom you shared a significant chapter of your journey, is simply a profound, unvarnished loss. Sometimes, the stark recognition that a connection, however cherished, was fundamentally built on a version of you that no longer authentically exists, is simply, purely, heartbreakingly sad. There is no need to intellectualize it away. Sometimes, standing at the precipice, at the very edge of the familiar life you are consciously choosing to leave behind, even when you know with the unwavering certainty of your whole being that you must, irrevocably, leave it to step into your destiny, feels not like standing at the welcoming threshold of a new doorway, but like standing at the dizzying, terrifying edge of a vast, unknown cliff, gazing into an abyss of uncertainty. The third key does not unlock by bypassing this grief, by pretending it doesn't exist, or by rushing through it to get to the good parts. It unlocks instead by moving through it with the full reverence, the complete dignity, and the profound honor it so deeply deserves. Sacred grief is not, it must be emphasized, the same as regret. You can, with immense spiritual integrity, grieve a relationship that you are absolutely right to release, for its purpose has been served. You can, with a compassionate heart, mourn a version of yourself, however limited or wounded, that you are unequivocally right to transcend, for its lessons have been learned. You can feel the immense, undeniable weight of a significant chapter ending without that weight, that sorrow, being any kind of evidence whatsoever that you are making a mistake or that your path is misguided. The ending is simply a part of the story, not a judgment on its worth. Starseed souls, with their deep empathy and profound connection to the collective, often carry the additional, unspoken burden of grieving alone, a unique form of solitude. This is because the very people they might have shared this nuanced grief with, the ones who could offer solace and understanding in other contexts, are often the very people they are in the process of outgrowing, the ones whose frequency no longer matches their own. There is often no one in their immediate circle who truly understands the specific, bittersweet sadness of this particular transition, this unique form of spiritual metamorphosis, except someone who has bravely passed through it themselves. This inherent isolation is precisely part of why these transmissions exist, to give voice, to give language, to give a navigational compass to a passage that is almost always walked without a clear, pre-drawn map, guided only by the inner compass of the soul. The sacred wisdom encoded in this key is a profound reassurance. Your grief, far from being a sign that your transformation is wrong or flawed, is in fact an undeniable sign that it is profoundly, unequivocally real. Only genuine love, in its purest, most potent form, creates grief when it shifts its form, when it transmutes its expression. Only authentic, deep connection leaves a discernible mark, a tender echo, when it gracefully releases its hold. The pain you feel at the frayed edges of this magnificent evolution is not a weakness, but potent evidence of the profound depth, the immense courage, and the expansive capacity of the soul doing the evolving. Honor it as a sacred rite of passage. Breathe through it with conscious awareness, allowing its waves to wash over you, and most importantly, allow it to complete its natural cycle without, under any circumstances, turning it into a compelling reason to regress, to go backward, or to cling to what your soul has already outgrown. There is a deep-seated fear that lives at the very center of almost every significant awakening journey, a silent, subterranean anxiety that is rarely spoken out loud, even to oneself. It is the primal fear that if you were to fully, completely, and unapologetically claim who you truly are, if you were to stop bending your truth, contracting your energy, performing roles that no longer fit, translating your authentic essence into palatable forms for others, then no one, absolutely no one, would choose to stay in your orbit. This fear whispers that sovereignty, that beautiful and empowering word, is simply a more dignified, more spiritual-sounding synonym for profound, desolate loneliness. This fear is not only understandable, it is deeply human. And it is powerfully rooted in a very real, often visceral experience. The painful, acute experience of watching cherished connections, even entire social circles, fall away or dissolve in the early, raw stages of transformation, leaving you with the acute, almost unbearable exposure of standing in a newly honest, newly raw version of yourself, with very few familiar faces left in the room, if any at all. It can feel like the universe has abandoned you, or that you have somehow failed. But the fourth key reveals a distinction that, when truly grasped, changes everything about how you perceive this stage. Sovereignty is not solitude. It is not an invitation to isolation. Rather, it is a profound and conscious act of selectivity. And true selectivity, born from self-knowledge and divine alignment, is not at all the same as isolation. It is, in fact, the essential energetic prerequisite, the foundational requirement for experiencing genuine, soul-deep intimacy. It's the difference between an open door inviting all comers and a sacred gate that opens only to those whose frequency truly matches. The connections you formed while operating predominantly from a place of unhealed wound, from a space of seeking external validation or completing perceived deficiencies, naturally attracted what was resonant with that wound, what reflected it back to you. This is not a flaw in those past connections, nor is it a judgment on the people involved. It is simply a fundamental principle of how energy, the very fabric of the cosmos, works. Like calls to like. A signal broadcast from a place of unworthiness or a subconscious need to prove oneself will consistently draw into your experience what perfectly confirms that unworthiness or perpetually demands that proof. This is not because the universe is cruel or deliberately trying to punish you, but simply because the frequency is coherent. It is doing exactly what it is designed to do, acting as a perfect mirror of your internal state. When you consciously and powerfully shift the signal, when you begin broadcasting with clarity and unwavering truth from the core of your inherent sovereignty rather than from the limiting logic of your wound, the entire energetic field of what is available to you, what can enter your reality, profoundly changes. This shift may not happen immediately. There will likely be a gap, a space between the old falling away and the new emerging that can feel terrifyingly empty, a void that tests your faith. But this shift is permanent. What subsequently enters your life, what arrives from that new, higher frequency, is categorically and fundamentally different from what populated the old one. It is built on deep, resonant recognition, rather than desperate rescue. It is founded on genuine energetic resonance, rather than unmet need. It arises from the sacred meeting of two whole, embodied souls, rather than the frantic, often codependent completion of two fractured, incomplete ones. The room empties before it fills. This is not a sign of failure, not an indication that you have done anything wrong. This is simply the natural, elegant mechanics of a frequency upgrade in action. The souls, the experiences, the opportunities meant to inhabit your glorious new chapter cannot truly enter until the architecture of the old one has been compassionately, yet decisively, cleared and released. Trust the emptying. This key may be the most quietly powerful of all of them, the one that holds the potential for the deepest inner peace, because it addresses something profoundly subtle, yet deeply impactful that lives beneath the layers of grief, beneath the lingering tendrils of guilt, and beneath the primal fear of solitude. It addresses, with great tenderness and profound insight, the very relationship you hold with the version of yourself you are in the sacred process of leaving behind. Many awakening souls in their newfound clarity and higher consciousness unconsciously carry a subtle, yet pervasive, contempt for their former selves. From the vantage point of the new illuminated frequency, the old patterns, the old choices, the old limitations now look so glaringly obvious, so painfully transparent. The ceaseless pleasing, the energetic contracting, the staying too long in situations that diminished, the silencing of the true, authentic voice in exchange for a false, fragile peace. And from the elevated vantage point of the person who has courageously moved through all of that, who has transcended those binding patterns, it can be incredibly tempting to look back at the person who was living it, who was still trapped in those cycles, and feel a kind of embarrassed impatience, a frustrated judgment. The inner critic whispers, "Why didn't you see it sooner? Why did you allow that? Why did you stay in those draining rooms? Why did you keep choosing what so clearly diminished your spirit? What obscured your light?" This internal judgment, though subtle, can be one of the most significant blocks to full self-acceptance and complete embodiment. The fifth key turns, unlocking profound compassion and radical self-forgiveness, when you finally and deeply understand that the old version of you was not failing. She was not making mistakes that needed correction. She was, in truth, completing something absolutely essential, something vital and foundational, upon which the magnificent new version of you is now being built. Every single experience of contraction, every moment of discomfort, every instance of self-diminishment, served a holy purpose. It taught her, it taught you, the precise, undeniable texture of what is not aligned, the exact vibrational frequency of dissonance. And this hard-won knowledge, this intimate cellular knowing, is the only way to develop genuine, unwavering discernment about what truly is aligned, what resonates with your highest truth. Every dynamic built on wound, every relationship that mirrored your unhealed places, gave you the invaluable, visceral, cellular knowledge of what wound feels like in a body, what it tastes like, what its energetic signature is. And this intimate understanding is, in turn, the only way to truly recognize its glorious absence when true resonance, when divine alignment, finally arrives. Every year, every month, every day spent in the rehearsal version of your life, the prelude, the preparation, gave you the profound depth, the boundless compassion, and the hard-won, experiential wisdom that now makes you fully capable of experiencing, embodying, and receiving the sacred union, the divine partnership, the highest expressions of love and purpose that you are currently being prepared for. It was all a necessary part of the curriculum. The Starseeds' journey, far from being a story of wasted years finally corrected, or wrong turns eventually rectified, is, in its deepest truth, a story of sacred, divinely orchestrated progression. Each stage, each seeming detour, each challenging chapter was a necessary passage, not a mistake. It was a vital step on the path of unfoldment. The cocoon, in its apparent confinement and stillness, is not a failure of flight. It is not an impediment to the butterfly's destiny. It is, unequivocally, the sacred precondition of it. Without the cocoon, there is no butterfly. Therefore, honor, with every fiber of your being, the version of you who survived everything she had to survive, who endured every challenge, who carried every burden, who learned every lesson, to faithfully deliver you to this very moment of sovereign emergence. She did not fail. She finished. She completed her sacred assignment, and her legacy is the powerful, radiant being you are now. The people from your past who can no longer reach you, who struggled to connect with the version of you they once knew, are feeling something profoundly real. The energetic connection, the vibrational access they once had to your being, has indeed shifted dramatically. What they are experiencing as your withdrawal, your seeming distance, is actually something far more precise, far more impersonal, and yet ultimately, far more loving. Your resonance field is clarifying. It is undergoing a process of refinement and purification. It is becoming more specific in its frequency, more coherent in its broadcast, more accurately tuned to the truth of your highest self, and in becoming more accurately broadcast, more purely resonant, it is naturally and inevitably becoming less accessible, less visible, less discernible to frequencies that are simply not a match for your current vibration. This, dear one, is not rejection. It is not a personal slight or a deliberate act of exclusion. It is spiritual physics in action. And it is, from a certain divine altitude, an act of profound respect for yourself, for your sacred journey and truth, and paradoxically, respect for them. When you attempt to maintain a connection from a frequency that is no longer genuinely your own, when you contort yourself back into an old energetic shape, you are not truly being kind. You are, in essence, offering someone a phantom version of you, a shadow self that does not actually exist in your present reality. You are holding open a door to a room that has long since been cleared, cleansed, and lovingly repurposed for your new journey, inviting them into a relationship that is fundamentally built on who you were performing yourself to be, rather than who you have bravely revealed yourself to be. That is not generosity. That is a subtle, yet pervasive form of spiritual dishonesty. And in the grand scheme of things, it truly serves no one, neither you nor them, in their own highest unfolding. The people from your past who cannot find you in your new frequency are, in their own way, being liberated. They are being freed from a dynamic that was, at least in part, organized around the wounded, less authentic version of you. This liberation, though painful in the short term, creates space for their own growth. Some of them, perhaps, will embark on their own parallel journey of transformation, undergo their own significant shifts, and eventually find you again, at the new address, in the new frequency, as the new self. When that sacred reunion happens, when those two evolved souls meet, the reconnection will be unlike anything you shared before. It will be a meeting of two whole, embodied, and truly evolved souls, capable of pure resonance, rather than two wounded ones clinging to each other in familiar, limiting patterns. And some of them, quite naturally, will not find their way to that new frequency. Not in this lifetime, not in this unfolding. And that, too, is profoundly sacred. Not every soul contract, not every divine agreement, requires a permanent, lifelong connection. Some are built entirely around the specific lessons they are meant to teach, the precise growth they are meant to facilitate, and the exact completion they are meant to bring about. When the teaching is complete, when the lesson is learned, and when the completion is honored, the most loving, most expansive thing two souls can do is to gracefully release each other to their separate, yet equally sacred, unfoldings. The sixth key unlocks the deepest, most pervasive peace in this entire passage, the profound peace of knowing, with unwavering certainty, that true love does not, by its very nature, require permanence or an eternal physical connection to be real, authentic, or deeply impactful. That the depth of a connection does not require its duration to be valid or meaningful. That the most profound, most soul-shaping connections of your life may have already served their full and sacred purpose, completed their cosmic assignment, and releasing them is not a loss, but a sacred completion. A gentle, necessary letting go that makes space for all that is yet to come. Here is the ultimate transmission, the overarching truth that the entire journey, every lesson, every tear, every moment of courage has been building toward. You were never lost. Not in any of the years that felt like an endless, confusing wandering through a labyrinth of uncertainty. Not in any of the relationships that, in retrospect, felt like wrong turns, like deviations from your true path. Not in any of the chapters that felt like you were perpetually falling behind some invisible, externally imposed timeline of what your life was supposed to look like by now, a comparison trap that diminished your unique rhythm. You were becoming unreachable, on purpose, by divine design. It was all part of the grand, masterful plan of your soul's unfolding. A starseed claiming her inherent sovereignty does not become unreachable because she has failed, because she has made a misstep or veered off course. Quite the contrary. She becomes unreachable to what is misaligned, to what is out of resonance, precisely because her signal, her unique energetic signature, has finally become pure enough, clear enough, coherent enough to be found by what is truly, unequivocally aligned with her highest truth, her deepest desires, and her most authentic self. The clarity is the entire point. The specificity of your new frequency is the very intention behind the transformation. The fact that the old frequency, the familiar patterns, the past dynamics can no longer locate her, is not merely a side effect of her profound transformation. It is the undeniable, resounding evidence that the transformation is not merely ongoing, but gloriously complete. It is the proof that the new paradigm has fully anchored. The divine union that awaits a soul at this level of pure, coherent frequency is not the kind that sneaks in under the radar of a life that hasn't been cleared, a life still cluttered with old energies. It is not the kind that competes for her attention with lingering old wounds, or settles uncomfortably into the corners of a life still built around outdated patterns. This profound, sacred connection, this divine partnership, arrives when the energetic field is entirely clear, cleansed of all that does not serve. It arrives when the signal is undeniably coherent, broadcasting with unwavering truth. It arrives when the soul has become so fully, so unapologetically, so vibrantly herself, that everything that approaches her, every new connection, every opportunity, every expression of love, must meet her there, in that new, elevated address, at that new radiant frequency, in that fully reclaimed, fully sovereign, fully inhabited, and utterly authentic life she has painstakingly created. You have been diligently preparing the space, both within and without. You have been meticulously clearing the field, releasing the old debris. You have been enduring the often challenging, sometimes agonizing gap between who you were and who you are becoming with more grace, more resilience, and more courage than you have ever been given credit for, even by yourself. The versions of you that can no longer be reached by the people from your past are not gone, vanished into thin air. They are integrated, like layers of a beautiful, complex painting. They are held in the wholeness, the profound completeness of the magnificent, radiant person you are right now. And the person you are right now is not waiting to be found, for that implies a passive state. She is already here. She is already transmitting her unique, powerful frequency into the cosmos. And what she is calling in, what she is magnetically attracting, has already begun to respond, already begun its journey toward her. Before you scroll, take a moment to be part of what's forming here. Drop one intention in the comments, something real from your heart journey, then respond to someone else's with encouragement or love. This isn't content, it's collective healing. Love multiplies when hearts connect. If something in this message resonated, don't keep it to yourself. Someone in your life is waiting for this exact activation. Share it. And if you felt a soul nudge, subscribe. Stay in the flow of divine love guidance. You're not just watching, you're healing. This is your sacred space, and we're just getting started. If this transmission spoke to you, don't just walk away from it. Respond to it. Help carry this message further. Every act of support helps this transmission find the next starseed who needs it.